Hello, Omri. Got my dunce cap on. I might need to adjust it a little bit, or maybe it just wants to be in the way. That's okay. Hi. Doing something a little different instead of an indie game, learning how to make indie games. This is also, I'm gonna move it up. Much better. Okay. It was distracting me. I don't want to be distracted. Hello. From the lesson. This is also an excuse for me because I did this before. And I've done coding before, but I have trouble focusing. So I was thinking, if I talk myself through it, maybe I'll retain the information more. And I saw this on Itch, and I was like, the lights just went out in my room. Very spooky. But you know what's spookier? Ignorance. That's the spookiest thing of all. So we're gonna learn. It's important to learn. There might be sounds. No, I'm going to need a little bit more. Okay. Yes, I do have the might set the 30. Okay. There's like 12. There's more than 12. We're not gonna do all of them. At least not in this video. I mean, actually, I don't get a lot of comments, but if you do want to comment, let me know if you want me to continue this. Because I'd be happy to. I know I have ADHD, so I'm weird about videos. I feel like I'd be so much better of a person if I liked watching tutorial videos. And even when they're really short, I just like, if I can't just directly look at it and refer to the information I need, my mind's like, nope. I don't like it. I need my big boy glasses for this. Oh, they're dusty. It's just like a stream, you guys. Suddenly the world is clear again. Okay. Learning to program can be daunting. And I think that's also why I wanted to do this, because when I first started learning to code, it was like 10 or so years ago. It was like through forums on Reddit and stuff, and like forum websites at the beginning of the internet, and everyone was super pretentious and really like sarcastic because people thought being sarcastic was cool back then. And it was just really demotivating to me. So I turned away from it, and then when I started programming again, people expected way too much of me, and expected me to jump in too fast. I took a class that like just the pace was not. It was like Sonic speed pacing, and I'm more of a Big the Cat kind of pace person. So I could not keep up, and I retained no information. So I saw this, and I was like, I'll give it a shot. And yes, that's very important. There's no way around learning to program. Every video game is a computer program. Even RenPy, which is very straightforward, you do have to code. And I think something that I always struggled with was compartmentalizing what I want to do. The mic wasn't facing me. What I want to do with what I need to tell the computer to do, because those are two different things. Because in my head, I'm like, okay, I want to walk this way in like at this angle, at this speed, and I want like an animation to play for my little steps, but you like sit down and you're like, computer's like, I don't know what you're talking about. So they have a nice example here. How you need, the variables and the speed and the math. There's something very nice about math with words to me. But I'm weird. I used to do math worksheets to calm me down. There's just something very simple about it that I enjoyed. Should I read all of it to you? Maybe. I'll just talk over it because I don't know. You could just play this thing yourself if you if you really want to learn. But you're here to watch me learn, and then everyone clicks off the video. I think this is actually really important that the computer can't interpret. It's not a large language model. It can't like pull out what you want and interpret a scene in its mind for you. Not that large language models can think, they can just interpret language in a way that's more. They can, I think OpenAI uses the term tokenizing. They can tokenize it and turn it into data for you. And I think that's also something that when I first started coding, the teacher kind of looked over or like glanced over, and it's actually extremely important that you know that you can't be vague. You have to be extremely specific, and try to make things as stupid as possible, so things are as simple as possible. We're gonna wanna. You ready? Hackers ready? Got your fingers tapping? About to do some code? Yeah. And I think for me also what I struggled with was how disappointing that is. Like you're like I'm like sitting there like I want to make Breath of the Wild. I don't want to draw stupid jaggy circles. I don't even like Aqua. I can't edit it. But if you think about it, this is in its barest form what Breath of the Wild is. It's a line of variables and numbers and colors and defined coordinates that are set to start when you press a button. Right, so no more, no less. But I always had more in the comments because I like. There's computer coding language, there's English, and then there's Omri, and that's a different language altogether. And I can't teach it to you. Using a program proper precise language. I do like that actually got its own script because I was talking earlier about the pretentiousness of like early internet nerds. Now they'd be like, no, you have to do like C++. You're not even using C#. Like, I don't know. It just was nonsense. It was, they might as well have been speaking Chinese to me. Programming is, the level of programming you often see, even with tutorials and stuff, is so, it's okay. So it's like, if you draw, like I draw, and you click on, trying to think of like Sycra or someone else. I don't remember. Okay, so let's do over Sycra. And you're watching him draw and you're following along and you're like, how did you get here? Like the meme of draw the circle and then draw the rest of the owl in 2 steps. I find that problem very, very often with coding stuff where it'll tell you what to do, but it's not going to work that way because it requires 7 other prerequisite lessons for you to understand what that person's saying for that to work. And for a very long time, there weren't really resources I found like this that could start from the bare bones of coding to be like, no, this is like, scrap all the codes, languages, whatever. Here's in theory, here's the critical thinking you need for coding. So I really appreciate Godot and what they do. And I appreciate this. Oh, I actually didn't know that engineers at Telsa also use it for the car's dashboards. That's good for them, I guess. And here's also, because when you're juggling all this stuff, there's a lot of syntax that you need to know. And like, in a way, I've always kind of found not HTML, I guess. I've tried HTML, I've tried C#, C++. C# and C++ are like very, very detail specific. I've tried Python. RenPy uses Python. It's still a little awkward for me. But I do think GDScript is a very good beginner. I think the one thing I don't like about GDScript is I don't use the brackets, because the way I first understood coding was boxes. Like, okay, in func, I'm gonna pronounce it as it's written, in func. Take damage. It's a box, and in that box it holds the amount, and in that box is a recipe to how to get the amount. I lost my train of thought. Yeah, I don't even know what I'm doing, and I've made games. But I also, I don't know, it's visually pleasing to me when I can like minus and plus out the huge brackets, bodies of code or whatever. Because once like code start getting really big, it gets really daunting. And when you can just tuck it away all nice, it's real nice. I think GDScript still reads it like a bracket, like you can still hide it. Hi. So yeah, maybe it's a dumb idea to, oh my god, my throat. So yeah, maybe it's like a dumb idea for me to do this, but like, I don't know. I always found it easier to learn when I had a buddy with me. So if you've been wanting to learn to code and maybe you're bad at focusing, like I am, and you're worried that you won't retain the information, then let's just walk through it together. We got our buddy here rooting us on. And just to like point out, like, okay, say you can't draw at all, and you're like, I like this. I wish I had the ability to do this. Look, take a minute to really look at him and take him apart with your eyes. He's a robot. It's not gonna hurt him. Don't worry. What you see is like a circle that's sort of chipped away for the gear teeth, and similar for the teeth. You have these half circles. You have the other half circles that are yellow, so they pop. And you have his weird little body. Then you have hands, which look like they might just be flipped. Like, so it's just one image of hand. Hand raises at an arc. Hand changes, small arc. So, well, I guess that would, like, on paper look like a lot. Just with drawing, make it as dumb and as simple as possible. And that's how you learn. I'll go off on a little tangent and I'll be really quick about it, but like, learning isn't about being smart. It's about making the information you're trying to understand dumb enough for you. And it took me a really long time to realize that. It's not like I would sit there and read books and they'd be too hard for me and I'd be so frustrated and have a terrible headache. And then I'd read a book that was easier for me, have a great time, and actually retain a lot more information. I don't know. I don't think being smart is like that important. I think more importantly is the flexibility and the understanding of where your level is so you can dumb it down to your level, because that's how you learn. Yes, we're gonna get coding foundations. It will take time, and I will say to someone with ADHD and very low self-esteem, it's not gonna take a month. This might take several years for you to get. I hate I made this in 3 days. Ooh, and it's like a perfect rendition of, I don't know, Mario Odyssey or something. The reason why people get drawn to that is because it's impossible. Because that is so 1% of the 1% of people can do that. And I also hate people who are like, look at my drawing, how it improved in 6 months. I'm like, shut up. It doesn't matter how long it takes. It really doesn't. Maybe I won't even understand this in the next 12 years. And that's not better or worse than someone who can read this, go through it in an hour, and make Baldur's Gate 3. It doesn't matter. Shush. And it is something you learn through practice, and it's also something I think they do, because I did go through this before. Coding, you get better at coding by being bad at it. And hopefully we get to that part. I'll try not to blab on too much. I mean, there's a turtle in our future. And also, like, keep in mind that computers are dumb. You can be super smart at coding and the computer can still get it wrong, and that's called a bug. And sometimes it's not your fault. We're hacking in, boys. Okay. We prepared a code sample for you. For this practice, you don't need to change anything. Test the code, and you're like, okay, fine. What's the hint? There's no hint. Hi. Errors are a good thing. Think of it like this. Okay, so it's a game that came out that was really buggy. Okay, so say you're like playtesting, and playtesting means trying a game before it's finished to see if how weird things that you may have overlooked, because everyone overlooks something. Okay, Cyberpunk, very known for its glitches and bugs. Or like Fallout 76. What they did on the, I don't know, like the whole economics of the situation, but that sort of stuff happens when you kind of overlook issues and take shortcuts. You're like, oh, well, at least it's not, I'm not getting an error, so it's fine, and you can, hit build and send the game out. And then you get weird things where like the skin of the person's not there, or it's raining indoors or something. But what you want is to get an error, to get a red line, to be like, no, it shouldn't be raining indoors, stop it. So you can go back and look at it and fix it. Like, you want to make your code as simple as possible so that when things go wrong, and they always will, it'll tell you, hey, I don't think this is right in this big red scary text. That's a good thing, because you would rather have a thing that's like, no dummy, this is already here, than send your game out and have like your text, I don't know, your character move 3 times as fast sometimes as you want them to move because of this error, because of this function issue. And yes, it is important that the Unity errors are like the bane of my existence, because like there was a thing and a thing and the thing. What? It tells me nothing. But yes, Godot is very, very helpful. He's your buddy here. They're your buddy here to sort out through these errors, because debugging is one of those pretentious things that people thought only like professionals do. So they never thought to make it readable by human standards. And Godot did, and I really respect them for that. Okay, something that might come up as you're like going more stuff. I'm just gonna assume you're following along. I hope you're not reading my screen. I'm kind of going through it. Is that you'll forget what you've defined. But defined, I mean, forget what you told the computer already. So almost like a good story. When you start the story, you tell the reader everything they need to know, like the character's name, where they are, the time period, the conflict, whatever. You give them a little bullet list of things they need to know going forward. And if you're not organized with that, you can come up later and be like, oh yeah, in the middle of the story, like it's, imagine Lord of the Rings. And in the middle of Lord of the Rings, as like Sam and Frodo are trudging along, Frodo's like, did you know I had an uncle named Bilbo? His name's Bilbo, and he was a funny guy, and his birthday was like a few years ago, and he like did this weird thing. Like, did you know that? I really wanted to let you know that. And that would like ruin the whole flow of the story, because the reader, or in this case, the computer, is like, you already told me that. What? I don't need to know that again. In fact, you've confused me more. Yes, arrows won't break your computer, especially not in Godot. I think that's also something that scared me when I was really little, doing coding. When I got an error, I was like, I broke it. Like, when I was a kid, I thought I broke the internet when the page wouldn't load. Oh, gotta fix the first error. This code is wrong. Use the return keyword, but this keyword is currently inside a command which the computer ignored. Test the current code by pressing the run button. Okay. This code is wrong. So what I was saying about the brackets earlier, so GDScript doesn't need that. Instead it has indentation, it like counts the indentation as a block. So if I went like this, it'd still be wrong. But by doing one tab, I put this in this box. And now it runs. It's a little misleading because you're not playing any animation. You're just writing 2 lines of code. We did nothing to affect his happy little face, but we did fix the code. Also important, don't try to be too original with your code. 2 + 2 = 4. You don't need to rewrite it. You don't need to reprogram that. The square root of 49 is 7. It just is. You don't need to math that out. Take from... Here's the thing that I feel strongly about in art too. Racing is how we learn. How else did you learn to walk other than watching people around you walk? You know what I mean? Like, you didn't learn to speak until the people around you were speaking. we're monkey see, monkey do. Obviously, don't throw things at the wall and be like, yeah, that works. You do want to understand it. But don't pressure yourself to make completely new code or whatever. That's so stupid. You don't need to do that. I guarantee whatever you're trying to do has already been done, and that's not a bad thing. My voice is very warbly today, and I'm sorry. I guess maybe one day we can get into it, a video about AI generated code. I do need to do more research on that, but I would actually like to discuss that. I'm not just a silly ghost boy saying silly ghost things and playing silly games. I'm big smart man. Big smart man who wants to know things. And I would like to eventually do a series on that, because an AI code is different than AI art. I will maintain that stance right now. You can throw tomatoes at me all you want. They're just going to go through me. Okay, okay. First, function. I like the name function because it's very on the nose. It is a function, is what it does. A light switch has a function. The function is on or off. Or the function is switch, and the switch goes on and off. So I find that language very easy to understand. Something, because I came from Unity, that I had a hard time with was Unity is not as friendly. So for things that you wanted to hide, there was like several ways to do it. And you can do several different ways with Godot, but it was like, is active, is visible, is rendered, like different things. And those all have their own purposes, but what you need to know is, are you showing it or is it hidden? I like show and hide. This is me just talking about how much I like Godot. I'm trying to think of what they're called in other. I think they're just called, there's functions, there's variables, and there's stuff. You can have code outside of run. It's going to go more into this later, but run is like a... how do I put... Okay, so... You have a body, I'd assume. And you walking, and you have a function called run. And that does certain things, like it moves your legs faster, pumps your heart harder. And those are the things that a run is doing. Outside of run, other things can be going on. Like, it could be cold, so like, you have goosebumps. Or you can be hungry, so your stomach's growling. Like those... Maybe I'm just really dumb, and that could be it, but... For a while, I had a really hard time wrapping my head around the idea that, like, this was the active, running, updating code that is still going, ongoing. And this is the stuff that is there, but not going at the same time or going for the same reasons. I'm probably making everyone who watches this dumber, and that'd be really funny. Okay, so parameters, arguments, radians. Radians gave me flashbacks. Quaternions in Unity. Anyone who tells you they understand quaternions in Unity are lying to you. It's not made for humans to understand. Okay. So if we're coming at this with absolutely no coding program, I'm trying to put myself in the past. This would be really intimidating to me. Because you function. Okay, you define what a function was. Arguments. And then you have... Forgot that not the radians. Parameter. Okay, parameters. That's not really a word I used in my daily life, so I knew what it meant, but only in a vague sense. Parameters. Okay, so how come I don't see that word anymore? I'm just going to talk about it, and if I'm wrong, throw your tomatoes. I don't mind. Parameters. So, you have the function run. Parameters are in the parentheses. And right now there's no parameter. And even I'm trying to talk myself through this, because again, I have really vague understanding of code. And I hope this video comes out more encouraging than anything, and being like, wow, this guy has no idea what he's doing. He's stupid and embarrassing and cringy. And I'm like, yeah, I am. I'm still doing it though. What's your excuse? That's what I was trying to say. Parameters are like slots, right? Okay. I think it's something I didn't like about the Learn to Code from Zero with Godot is that they go through coding basics, but they don't go through like the weird transition of going from coding to putting the code in the engine and like attaching it to things, which you can learn later in like other intro to Godot, but it always felt uncomfortable to me. So even with really simple functions like rotate, I recommend actually looking up the actual documentation of what Godot says rotate is, because there might be stuff in there like rotate assumes that the pivot point, like the origin, is in the middle of the object you want to rotate. And say you're doing it and you're trying to do all this math because you want it to rotate in weird patterns. You're doing all this weird math about it, but you don't really have to do that. There might be a hidden parameter that you can add to be like the origin point's here. Maybe I'm making all this up and I'm an idiot. I just want to keep saying that. I'm gonna wrap it up. We learned very little. The big thing with coding, and then Godot hides a lot of it to keep you from overwhelming yourself, but you do gotta take very baby steps with it. So yes, function run rotate 0.3 works here, but it works here. When you do this in Godot with something, it might not work. And the reason why this might not work is because there's hidden things, like the robot's breathing, right? Like it's popping up and down. There's an animation code running, like in the background at all times as this page is open. So while it is being very beginner friendly, I think if you're going to go through this, you should be aware that there are a lot going, like not a lot going on under the hood, but there is more under the hood than what they're saying. And if you were to go through this, I encourage you to like take breaks and be like, oh, rotate, okay. And you can say, okay, so it's not just hit rotate exactly how I want. It's, this is what rotate does. And then once you have that in your mind, you have several skills. You have the skill to look up the function, translate it to what you're seeing, to something that you can use. And you can also see that how flexible code is. Because while this beginner stuff is extremely good and helpful, it can be a little limiting. Because there's some stuff they're hiding from you. And while that can make it less intimidating, that can lead to confusion and frustration later on because you didn't realize you missed something. Because they're not telling you anything else. So if you are going through it, whatever person, maybe one person will watch the video all the way through, you're going through it, take a lot of breaks, and almost like you're taking notes. Like when I was in school, I was recommended to take notes and write on the like side of the paper words I didn't know or recognize in like the lecture, and to look those up later. So take these. Remember, you're learning a language, so it's not rotate as in it the word is in English. It's a function, and that means something different to a computer. So when you see rotate, take a note of that, look it up later, and then you can learn what that function means and the arguments it takes. And that way, rotate has two separate meanings in your mind. It has the English meaning, speaking, like I can rotate, I can turn around, and rotate as it means to Godot. Onto radiance. it says don't worry about memorizing what arguments each function requires or accepts. You don't have to memorize anything. Remember, a programmer's greatest tool is Google. You don't have to memorize anything. It's just get in the habit of, I would suggest, get in the habit of digging a little bit deeper every time you see something of, oh, this does this. Oh, what else does that do? Just to sort of open up your mind, like, because there's a huge world of possibilities in here, and while you don't want to overwhelm yourself, I do encourage you to get lost in the rabbit hole. You can make an entire game just about like the rotate function. If you wanted to, exploring all the ins and outs of it. So really we have Wonderland at our fingertips. And if you want to go a little bit through all the attractions, all the possibilities, you can. But if you see a white rabbit, you can follow it and go as deep as you want to go. And I think that's my takeaway. Coding is not like learning other stuff. You can go, trust your gut, take your time, and have fun. Radiance. Okay, I'm not sure if I made a moot point, but it does explain what point 3 is. Point 3 in radians. So yes, it does go over left and right, because if it was going in a circle, then it'd be negative, and a negative number would go to the left. So maybe I am stupid. I am getting dumber. Okay, but I think I can tie it back. So the radian, you look into that, you realize this is sort of under the hood of what's happening. Radians is just the number that you need to tell the computer, but this is where that number is coming from. And when you know where that number is coming from, you can edit it. Like I said earlier, like you can move the origin point to further customize the rotation. And there he goes. But again, you might be thinking this and like, oh, okay, I like this. I'm gonna do that. And you go and it's like, but mine's not starting over though. And that's true, because what they're not showing you is that they've defined a screen size as a space. They've also defined a function to, spawn it when it gets too far to the other side. So it's just worth looking. It's worth looking at what you're seeing and saying, okay, here's what I understand is happening. It's moving x20 down the x-axis and moving across the y-axis by 20 units. I think pixels. But you might want to look into that. Oh, okay. This also confused me. The vertical axis points down. So 20 on y is moving downward. Because computers are stupid and the people who made them are even dumber. And they don't like people. And they don't want to make things easy for you. So, actually, I do know the real reason. Look at your computer or your phone. Look at it. Look at the screen. Where do you think 0.0 is on your screen? It is the top left corner of your screen. That is 0, 0. Not the center, not anywhere else. It is in the very top left of your screen is 0, 0. So whenever you move down for that, and okay, so you're on your screen, you're at 0, 0. Say where, this is actually a good thing for Macs that you can see my cursor, because I can show this. Okay, so this is 0, 0. If you were my cursor and you were looking straight in front of you, this would be forward. But that is why y is upside down to us, because it's imagining we're all starting right here in the top left and going either down or to the right. Just the positive values. So if rotation and position stuff is always annoying. But something to keep in mind, like even with like 3D stuff, is one, where the origin point is. And how is it transforming compared to the world that it is in? Not the world that we know. Because I could be to your left, right? I could be to your right, or I could be above you. That's not how the computer would see it. Because the computer, because where you are is 0, 0 for you. You are not the computer, and the way we understand space is not how the computer understands space. So, yes, keep in mind that top left is 0, 0. But see, if I can do it, and I'm dumb, and I make mistakes that are dumb and embarrassing, you can do it. And you can do it without showing it to the internet. You know, the computer's not going to get mad at you. It's just going to be confused. Is this the most stupidest video I've made? It's up there. It's definitely up there. But I will post it because I've been posting every day. I made coding a little bit less intimidating for someone. I mean, this turtle's here to help you. This was weird. I enjoyed it though. Oh, see, now it says pixel. It didn't define that before. Anyway, thank you for watching. And I guess if you want to see me go through this whole thing, I can. You want to see me get all the answers wrong, I can do that too. I'll put a link to this in the description and for the documentation and for Godot in general. Yeah.